everybody. Have you got your Reynolds wrap?
No, it's aluminum foil.
Aluminium. I'm going to put my aluminum altimeter in the garage. I'm sorry, I don't speak American. It's too confusing. So hello, welcome to Magickal Monday. We did warn you last week was going to be interesting.
What an interesting week it was, and it's Monday again. Maybe we could see who's here today.
Why don't we do that? And we did... Oh
Holy
my
macaroni.
Goodness gracious me. Well, look at this. Hello. This is wonderful. So I take
Sean, Savannah, Laura, Samaj, Jess, Gilda, Logan, Cass, Helena.
It's a lot. So there's lots of you watching, and thank you. Welcome. I can see everybody in green, and Helena must have re-upped as a sweep team member. Thank you for doing that. We do appreciate it. We're going to do our best to get to readings, but there's a lot to go through. Lisa has been making notes for like a day now.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. So recall last week we said Al Ghul, decapitation, losing your head. Carry on, number one.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to track back a little bit to what I was talking about this time last year. I have here a note from July 23.
July of 23.
And it says, we might feel like we're living in some sort of parallel reality where you put your energy will be key. Whatever you support, you empower. So try to be part of the humanitarian community. Pay attention to your health, to food alliances, and positive actions.
Ooh.
Don't give the bad news any energy. Don't feed dramas. Be aware to engage in the energy of Aquarius. You create your reality, so be amazing. All right. So I see we've got Donna, hello, and Wendy, hello, and yeah, Al Ghul, yeah.
And Carol.
And
Carol's
Carol.
joined. Carol's
Okay.
joined us as well.
So I said, stay positive and don't lose your head. And we know that we had said that we lose a lot in translation. And I'm going to try to go a little slower today with my chatter.
Go for it.
Only because I don't know if you want to take notes. Some people might be trying to write things down, and
It is recorded.
I don't want to distress anyone. Yeah, it is recorded.
It is recorded, so by all means go back and watch again. And again, and again.
So some of you have heard a lot of this already, but I just want to give like a little recap, and all right. So we said that words and their translations can be lost. Their concept can be lost.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about an Arabic word that meant farm in English, but when you really looked at its original meaning, it meant being able to understand how to harness the earth for sustenance, whether it be wind farming or solar farming or agricultural farming, right?
Growing crops or raising chickens.
So we have this activation, is what I'm going to say, right? The fixed stars are always there, and they're fixed, meaning they're in that same spot. They don't move.
That is true.
But if we could kind of think that a planet that's coming to visit that fixed star, it's like turning on their light.
Right.
Or they're getting that attention because now they can be seen. Their energy is activated. So Al Ghul, where we said we get the name ghoulish from, when we look at that translation from ancient Arabic into Greek, into Latin, into English, we get decapitation. But it's not really just that physical act of having your head chopped off. It's not like don't lose your cool, right? Don't give in to the crazy. Don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't lose your head.
And
literally.
we kind of said, well, holy crap, somebody tried to shoot Trump's head off. And we could also look at Joe Biden as the head of the Democratic Party.
Well,
who has now said, I'm going to continue to be the president for the rest of my term, but Kamala Harris is going to...
He received an incurable wound.
He received an incurable wound. So why don't you talk a tiny bit right now about the story of Ben de Givran?
Oh my goodness gracious me!
Because
Well,
it's
I'll
very
try.
contemporary all of a sudden.
It's all of a sudden. I really feel. I've said a lot. I've said a lot of times that wonderful phrase that Ben de Givran said that became sort of core foundational. Thank you. We've just got a big cheer there. Well, thank you for that.
TikTok
Obviously,
is so crazy.
They support Ben de Givran as well. Let me try and explain this. So for those of you guys that don't know, and I think most of you that are watching probably do, Lisa and I follow Welsh Celtic mythology. It's the foundation in our own tradition, and key to that, apart from Hanes Taliesin, the story of Taliesin, is the 4 branches of the Mabinogi. And the second branch of the Mabinogi, it's quite interesting. I'll give you just a very brief synopsis of it. Because we're going to be here till Tuesday otherwise if I try and do the whole damn story, which I'd love to do. But
the gist of the story
of the story is there's 2 warring nations, and they've been in conflict, perpetual conflict for, as long as anybody can remember. And there's this idea that maybe if we married the 2 families together, if we united the ruling class, so to speak, then there would be a united nation, no longer at war. And so Bran the Blessed, Ben de Givran, his sister Bran, marries Branwen. Sorry. Branwen marries Matholwch. Thank you for setting up my misspeaks. I misspeak a lot. So Branwen marries Matholwch, and they go off to Ireland, and she's a good queen for quite a while, and they have a son called Gwern, who is, or will be, presumably the heir of both nations. But what happens in the interim is this very evil character called Efnisien he loses his head, quite literally. He goes completely
He goes
nuts.
out of his mind.
He goes out of his mind, and he mutilates all of the Irish horses and all this. This is a great insult, so they give him, try and make things right. They pay some compensation, including a cauldron that brings everybody back to life. They go off to Ireland. Everything's copacetic for a while until the noblemen start going, that was a terrible insult. You really need to kick Branwen out of the court. So she's humiliated and sent to work as a scullery maid in the kitchens where the butcher boxes her on the ears every single day. She's so distraught with this, she teaches a starling. She befriends a starling and teaches it gives it a message to take to her brother, because Matholwch has closed off all the borders. No information shall travel, So the starling gets back to Wales. Ben de Givran musters his armies, and they go across, and he's so big no ship can contain him, so there's this whole story about him wading across the ocean, and what is this that we see, this hill and these lakes and all that sort of stuff. But he arrives on the shores of Ireland. The Irish flee, and they destroy the bridge over the River Liffey. And the River Liffey, which is on the route to Dublin, has got all these lodestones in it that literally will pull the nails out of a ship, so you can't cross it by ship. So he lays his body down over the river and says this incredible thing, which is Avo ben byd bont. Avo ben byd bont. He who would be a leader must first be a bridge. He lies his body down, the army runs across them. They then Irish sue for peace, and they say, we'll build you this chuffing great big wonderful hall to house you, and we'll invest Gwern as the king. I'll abdicate, Matholwch will abdicate and invest Gwern as the king. Who will
become the king of both.
So he cuts his own head off at this point, Matholwch, if you like. He abdicates.
Well, Branwen got boxed around the ears too.
Okay. So now they go there, but the Irish have set a trap. They have all of these soldiers hidden in bags of flour that are going to jump out and murder people. But as Efnisien goes around, he spies this, and he squeezes their heads and pops their heads, and so all of them are dead. But, this is fine. But remember, the Irish have this cauldron that bring people back to life. Anyway, a little further on, there's this investiture, and Efnisien, as Gwern is invested as the future king of the United Kingdom, Ireland and Wales, or the Island of the Mighty, because that covered all of the UK at this point. He's going around, and Efnisien says, "Well, haven't you got a kiss for your uncle?" And he comes over there and he picks him up and he throws him in the fire. Branwen tries to stop it, but the boy's already burning at this point. All hell breaks loose. It goes absolutely mad, and Ben de Gaivran, Bran, catches his sister Branwen between his shoulder and his shield, and they fight. They fight this huge bloody fight, and the Irish are being thrown in the cauldron and keep coming back, and there's this horrible war of attrition. And eventually Efnisien throws himself into the cauldron, breaks it asunder as a kind of self-sacrifice thing. The fight comes to an end. It's a terrible waste. There's only 5 Irish left alive and 7 survivors. And Bran himself has received an incurable wound. He's been hit with a poison spear. So he instructs his company to cut off his head, and he becomes the oracular head. And Branwen unfortunately dies with a broken heart when they get back to Wales and all that sort of stuff. It's a terrible, horrible story, and there's a lot of philosophy in there, but it really reminds us of the utter futility of war and conflict. And the deep message of it, and there's an irony in so much as that Ben de Gaivran was in the active process of waging war when he said that he who would be a leader must first be a bridge. And I really felt that with Joe Biden, that from the horrible divisive nature and polarization of the other guy, the orange guy, who has set people against each other in a very, very real and nasty way, much like with the energy of Efnisien, to stir up what ostensibly have been friends for lifetimes, suddenly find they're fighting each other over politics, And it's interesting that Biden was that bridge to try and say, there's nothing that we can't do.
Well, he expanded NATO.
He built a lot of bridges and said there is nothing we can't do it. With the United States of America, and there's nothing we can't do if we don't do it together. So if that is that avoir ben bid bont, it seems then he's fighting a war on 2 fronts, and he's received this incurable wound in so much as that, for whatever reason now, following the debate, which I think was, quite hard on him.
Well, I also think that if people actually went back to the debate and got the question, and then got the transcript of the orange one's answers.
Didn't answer a single question.
They would see that, not a single question.
He didn't answer a single question. All he did was spew hatred and vitriol, as is his way, and yell at Biden the whole time he was talking. Even as we, as the audience, couldn't properly hear it, he was yelling at him, and he did, he did a number on it.
Right. We're not here to talk about that.
By that as he may. So now Biden finds himself fighting a war on 2 fronts, not just against the existential threat, if you will, of the wannabe dictator who intends to turn our country into an authoritarian dictatorship. He's now fighting the press, who think you're too old and too doddery to do bloody anything, despite the fact he's done. So he received an incurable wound, and now I guess he's hacked off his head.
Not a wand.
Wound. He's hacked. Thank you. I'm trying hard to speak. He's hacked off his own head, kind of thing. You've got to cut off my head, So hopefully he will be like Ben de Gaivran for the next, well, obviously
however
not 80
long,
years,
he
but
will be an
the
oracular
head that because there's so much wisdom in that man. He will go down in history as one of the US's finest presidents. Mark my words, people. Mark my words.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I
there
don't
you go.
know anything about the Black Cauldron, I'm afraid, Savannah. I can't help you.
Never seen it, can't comment. Maybe. Who knows?
But the Mabinogi stories are definitely timeless mythological wisdom. Okay. So, I've been talking about astrology for a while. And, I don't know, a few days ago, I guess, Anton asked me a really cool question that set me in a new direction.
Oh, God, it was my fault.
He said, how do they decide what planets rule what? How do they decide what those planets govern? And I said, well, they're not necessarily cause and effect. It's more like looking at the last time that happened, this happened. And over a period of time, here this is happening again. Oh, look, this happened again. So the term for that is empirical evidence.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Empirical evidence.
Like
yeah.
meaning that when this happens, this usually follows it, or it predicts or precedes or tells us, warns us, offers us. And that's how we would do our magic, or really live an astrologically aware life. We would say, oh, Mercury retrograde is not the best time to buy a new car or computer, right? So we would start to look for things, and to look ahead for the best time is called, are you ready? Electional astrology.
In other words, you elect the time to do what you're going to do.
You elect the time. So astrology is really a vast subject. But I have been doing some things that have, some investigating, that has kind of brought me some really good peace of mind.
Before you start on that whole list of stuff, and I know you stuff, I just want to interject one tiny little thing which is completely relevant here. I don't know if you guys, some of you may follow me on Facebook. I'm not big in Facebook, but I came across something that knocked me sideways the other day, and it was a reprint of an article that was originally published, I want to say, in 2004 in Canada Press, about the Taliban destroying the weather forecasting service in Afghanistan. That they absolutely smashed all of the equipment because they said the only person who can make predictions, or only God can predict the future. You're allowed to say what the weather is today, but you can't make a forecast for tomorrow. And it lists certain things, including an airliner flying into a mountaintop as a result of, lack of weather information. But that's what you get when you get authoritarian theocracies that fail to embrace the empirical evidence that we have learned over millennia. Forecasting is exactly that. We see these things occur.
Well, that's what we do, astrological forecasts.
We see these conditions occur, and we say it's very likely that this weather condition will occur tomorrow, and this about this time, or whatever. The science of meteorology is far better understood than the science of astrology.
That's not true.
The science. You can explain the mechanism.
It is accepted.
All right. You can explain the mechanism in meteorology because we're dealing with forces we can explain.
And people accept that.
Yeah, but in astrology, well, we have to accept we don't know everything. In fact, we don't even know what we don't know. And there are forces and energies at work that which we can't quantify, we can't explain, but that doesn't render them, irrelevant. Because they must be, because empirical evidence gained over millennia.
We're going to be here for 5 hours.
That's all I'm saying. Millennia. This is what Lisa's gone back and looking at. I know. I live with her. I know what she's been digging into. So, you might be surprised here. Go for it, kid. I'll shut up now.
All right. So last week or the week before, I talked about Algol, Uranus, and Mars, and they're coming together, and that the planet of war and the planet of expect the unexpected had come together to turn on the light switch of Algol, and off we go. And I said, gosh, the last time we had something like this was when we dropped the bomb. And we could kind of look at that as a revolutionary act. What do you got here, Samaj? I keep saying that the more the machine tries to quell our voices, the more we return to the ways of the craft. That then returns back to ourselves and to our intuition. This is a powerful mechanism.
Oh, have we got more to say about that?
Okay.
Moving on.
Well,
hold that thought.
Oh gosh, I didn't even know where to begin. Really, I have pages and pages and pages.
It's almost so much to get your head around. Is
All
the
right.
thing, isn't it?
So, the thing that we have that is affecting our planet, right? Because the closer in the planets, the more they affect the self and our feelings, right? So the moon, our feelings, Mercury, how we create and speak, Mars, Venus, how we love, passion, Jupiter, those inner planets yes, can certainly, as above, so below, affect a country or a planet as well. But the outer planets move so much slower that it's not like we could just rip the Band-Aid off and only feel the pain for a second. The outer planets are like the person who takes a tweezer and slowly moves the Band-Aid for the change.
Ooh, ow, ow.
So Pluto. Pluto is, we've been talking a lot about Pluto, who in its transition from Capricorn into Aquarius. And what happened the last time, right? This happened. So when we look to the United States, during that transition was the birth of the United States.
All right.
So this is not just happening again
Spawn of revolution.
to the world, but it is happening in the United States, is completing a cycle, a Pluto cycle.
It's interesting. Revolution, to revolve, to turn.
Okay. So we want to see what was going on. Well, the United States, in this transit, in this period of time, we birthed our nation. They did the Bill of Rights, right? Power to the people.
Oh my, we need to know about that.
The French monarchy was taken down and a republic was born.
Storming of the Bastille.
The French had the Declaration of the Rights of Man.
Liberty, equality,
And small
fraternity.
business started to take over bigger governance. All right. So this degree that Pluto has been operating in is called the nephrotic. The
Necrotic.
Necrotic. The death degree. Right? The very last tail end of the old and beginning of the new. All right? So if we look at these two signs that this change is happening in, and we kind of see that dance. When I teach astrology,
Keep going.
when I teach astrology, I always say that the sign before it kind of tells us this is what I stand for, and this is the things I don't have yet, and the sign that's coming tries to make up for what the last sign lacked, and offer the next step in the dance. Do I need to see that?
No, I don't want to disturb you, but I do want to speak to it later when you're ready. Please. Yeah, I know. Wait, I don't want to derail your train of thought.
Why don't you go ahead so that I can continue?
All right, so fine. Lisa says this is like the necrotic degree. This is the death throes of the old guard. And it really is. And let's think about that. Every cell in our body is replaced regularly. We completely regenerate
As
ourselves.
above, so below.
We regenerate, and if something goes wrong in there, we can get a metabolic disease which we have termed cancer. Okay, and what happens there is there's a failure in the death domain pathway where a cell says, I don't want to die. I want to hang on to my old guard. I will not let go. And they don't realize, because obviously realization is a slightly involved process here, but they don't realize by hanging on, they're actually causing more harm to the whole organism. So this cell will hang out in a place where there might have been a previous injury or some irritation or inflammation or something like that, and it starts sending messages out, say, hey, come hang with me. Come hang with me. We're going to be all right. We're going to hang on here. We're not going to die. And they start to replicate out of control. And this becomes a cancer which can ultimately kill the entire body. But, you know, if you turn the death dominion pathway back on again and get people to realize that sometimes you have to give your life for the good of all, you know, as perhaps, you know, what has just happened over the course of this weekend, you know, they've cut the head off to save, you know, the greater good, perhaps. Just a thought here.
Okay. So yes, Samaj, 7 is a Saturn cycle as well. 7 years makes a square, an opposition, a square, a return. So 7, every 7 years is a Saturn cycle.
7 outer planets, 7 visible planets.
Okay. So
Moving on.
what we want to do is try to understand that we are experiencing something that is many generations, not just one generation, right? We're talking about a cycle that was happening 240 years ago, that's happening again now. And by looking back, we do have some evidence of what that cycle offered and what happened, right? That we don't really have much evidence from the 1500s. It's a little sketchy. I mean, I did talk about Nostradamus and things like that, but we have real written American history for our country from this last cycle. And when we look at these two signs, Capricorn and Aquarius, they are both ruled by Saturn. The ancient ruler of Aquarius is Saturn. The modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. So we do want to take the position of Uranus and Saturn into consideration, because they would be in different places than Pluto was 240 years ago. We didn't have the same configuration of all of the planets. But let's see about what Capricorn would stand for. Capricorn says power, agenda, banking, corporate supermarkets, right? Capricorn, this 20 some odd year cycle that Pluto stays in a sign for 20 to 24 years. So if you think about this last quarter of a century, 2000 to now, look at all the corporate things that have gone on, right? Corporate greed. We haven't had minimum wage raised. We've had, big companies like Walmart start to sell food. There's just been this overall control of banking and bail out the banks.
80% of online trade is done through
online
Amazon.
trade, big over, the
Huge
little businesses have suffered quite a bit. Capricorn also wants to know, what's your makeup? Who lives in your place? So there is that focus in the last 20 some years on immigration. Capricorn would also rule things like the Constitution, if we were trying to put things into these rulerships.
Yeah, but they're also likely to stack. They want to have rules, but they want the rules to be very much in their favor, don't they? You know what I mean?
Well, they're corporate. They're all about the head.
Right. Ooh,
right?
We'll skip those ads. Keep going.
Okay. So the pandemic was really a vision of the death degree of Capricorn. It said, I need you to separate these little people. I need you to control these little people. I need you to make them become victims, right? And I'm not trying to say that every Capricorn is this way motivated or that every Aquarian is what I'm going to talk about next. But I'm saying, as a rule, Pluto moving through that sign. All right, so Pluto in Capricorn, the Constitution, the victim. Who are you made up? Who are your people? What do you value? Banks, greed, corporate supermarkets, pandemic, controlling taxes, controlling money, and it represents the old, right? So Capricorn's expression of Saturn is like Father Time. It's the old. And that all of those things are getting transformed as the Band-Aid slowly comes off.
And painfully.
To show us the Aquarian expression of Pluto, right? And the Aquarian expression of this energy. And it's going to sound kind of Star Wars, really, right? Because the Capricorn expression of Pluto says, I don't want you to really know what's going on, but I want you to follow me.
Speaking of following us, thank you, Jason.
Okay, so the Aquarian side says, hang on a minute. We're not about control, we're about freedom. We're not about singularity and victimhood, we're about the people and mastering our destiny.
All the people, all aspects of all the people.
It now wants Pluto to express truth and mind energy and thought processes. And it has a real focus on aviation, science, medical technology, and food through alliance and cooperation, right? So I think over these next 20 years, we're going to see a lot more local agriculture.
Yay.
Sharing of food, organic food.
Yay.
Like social teams of people innovating for things. And don't get me wrong, the rest of this year is this Star Wars struggle to pull the Band-Aid.
Kind of.
Okay, so I think it's really, really important that we pick a team and that we understand wherever we put our focus is what we're going to see. Individually, family, community, globally. So don't feed the dark stuff, right? Like things that happened yesterday provoked profound worry, profound fear, profound sadness. Don't feed that. Feed the light. Feed the good karma. Feed the positive stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if we think about the two ruling planets of Aquarius and we take into consideration where they are, we see that Uranus is sitting on Al Ghul. And it's going to be there for the rest of this year.
Oh my.
And it's in Taurus, so it is predicting or offering a revolution for Mother Earth herself, right? A revolution of how the carbon-based infection transforms. So that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Again, we're going to see a real focus on Uranian things. Chaos for change. Climate things, right? We're going to see a lot more seismic action, a lot more weather things, storms and floods and earthquakes and lightning. But we're also going to see leaps forward in technology and medical technology and how we take care of the planet itself, right?
If we're willing to learn.
And then if we see, well, so during all of this, where is Saturn? who Saturn governs both Capricorn and Aquarius. And Saturn is in Pisces. Now, Pisces is the innovator, the one who makes great sacrifices, the dreamer,
It's the house of self-undoing.
It is the house of self-undoing, absolutely. But it's also the last water sign, and we see things starting like that young guy whose last name is Slat or something.
The ocean cleanup.
The ocean cleanup.
I know
Yep.
who you mean.
So
Right.
he has started a global team to do ocean cleanup, and their goal is to get 90% of the plastics and garbage that we've dumped in the water out.
Well, would you believe there's something the size of France in the Pacific Ocean, which is a garbage patch?
A
believe it or
garbage
not.
patch, yeah. So
Size of France.
right. So what we also want to do, I think, individually for the rest of this year, is also watch the path of Venus in your own chart. Because what matters now more than ever is where you put your heart.
Oh,
Right?
and how. Courage.
Venus is a fascinating energy that if we harnessed it, we could really, really make leaps and bounds with our intention. Venus is in Leo right now, so everybody is watching where we're putting our spotlights, you know? They're watching who's acting and how they're acting. So there's just some really intense stuff, and you know, we look at these next few months. For the entire month of August, we have Mercury retrograde. Then we have in September Pluto making that final dip back into the degree of Capricorn that is the natal degree of Capricorn of the United States. It's going to be there September through our election.
Right.
Don't forget, in September we have that other mated eclipse. Oh yes.
Lunar eclipses.
And then once Pluto goes direct again, it will be in Aquarius through 2024. And time is really moving quickly. And we will see that it's going to be even more quickly. I'm sorry, you wanted to say something?
No. I just time is like
Okay.
it seems to have accelerated. It's just
So, usually there's a balance of shift of energy, meaning the outer planets that are generational, they're all going to be moving from earth and water, slow growth,
air and fire.
into air and fire, quick transformation. Saturn will move into Aries. Uranus will move into Gemini for 7 years. Neptune is in its necrotic death degree of Aries. And then I said Pluto will move into Aquarius for 20 years. So this is going to be a huge generational shift. And when we look at that energy, we see like passion, drive, communication, humanitarianism, power to the people, a focus on people working together, right? And being able to communicate both sides, right? That chaos, panic and disorder, expect the unexpected, is going to move into Gemini. And there's going to be leaps and bounds in communication, transportation, that kind of thing.
Can I speak to the communication thing for a little bit?
Sure.
For those of you that don't know, I wear another hat. I'm chair of Newport's Public Access TV Committee. And it's interesting because the one thing that we always love about public access is it's protected under the First Amendment, the freedom of speech. and it can't be bought. It cannot be bought. You can't buy advertising on public access television. You can't sponsor a narrative. You can't have somebody own it with a political agenda. And it was interesting that Lisa got a hat on a couple of years back as an Action Worldwide news reporter when there was a local cover-up of contamination of Newport's drinking water. And I
had
think
to be the on-site reporter because there wasn't anyone else.
I think that's where our current administration became somewhat disenchanted with me, so, putting it bluntly. So yeah. The thing is, though, now I think news has been controlled. If you think about it, how people used to get the news. We used to have, and this went through my head when you were talking about this and talking about correspondences, and you think, yeah, it was our man in wherever was the correspondent, and he would have to write back what's happening. He would write us.
Right, but right now the head of the media belongs to 6 billionaire type people.
News Corp. Yeah, you look at what News Corp owns. It's ridiculous.
All right, but the head is being taken off. Al Ghul.
Yes. So it's I believe it's gonna get fractured. We've seen this to a certain extent with social media, but understand social media can be easily manipulated by state actors and is.
Oh yeah.
So it's down to us, and I think this is one of the things that waking up, that need to observe. That's the very first thing in coming up with any idea is you look. And you don't just look, you observe. You observe and you really understand the mechanism of what's going on here. And then you can see where it's either going wrong or how it can be improved. And you make that's called progress. That's called progress. That's what we do. And this huge, we're going to swallow everything hook, line and sinker. From this massive news organization that controls the story, the story will fall into the control of the people, and the people.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep my focus.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I honestly believe we're going to get back to what our founders intended, which is government of the people, for the people, by the people, and not this huge, element of the 1% of the huge corporate wealth that want to control everything, including all of the laws, to benefit themselves. They're tilting the table in their favor.
Well, we've had this conversation before where you could look at Pluto's transits through the signs, and you could, Pluto in Virgo, we all need a therapist. Pluto in Leo, they invent television. Pluto in Scorpio.
Oh God, no!
Columbine kids. Pluto in Sagittarius, the world shrank with the internet.
Yes, it did.
Pluto in Capricorn, huge focus on finance, right? Look at
and consolidation of wealth. That's what happened.
Bitcoin, corporations, all that kind of stuff.
90% of the world's wealth is controlled by less than 100 people. Think about that.
Okay.
Think about that.
So we are going to see, if we look at the empirical evidence, we are going to see reform for banking. We are going to see, I think, a reformations of like the Electoral College, term limits for the Supreme Court. I think we're going to see a bigger focus on immigration and what America really stands for, about being a receptive melting pot. I do believe there's going to be more power to the people. And again, we look at what happened before and take into consideration planets that have moved, that are giving different energy at this time, and try to add that to the recipe. All right. What's fascinating also is as we change eras, right? You've heard me talk about the 1159 is 1960 to 2020 is midnight.
I think it's a great way of explaining that.
Now we're in the midnight to 1201 over the next 60 years. The Earth itself, we look from the chakras to our immediate family, to our community, to our nation, to our planet, to where the planet is in the universe, and so on out there. And the interesting part about this age of Aquarius, I'm really going to sound a little crazy to you now, is that the planet is moving very close to a photon belt. So you've noticed we've had all these solar flares, and we're moving into the photon belt, which only happens once every 12,000.
Where the hell do you get this? Have
every
you been studying
12,000
astronomy?
years.
It's like
So every 12,000
Respect.
years, every 12,000 years, we have a 2,000-year stint. And unfortunately, we don't really know what happened 12,000 years ago.
It was the end of the last ice age.
But it was the age of Leo, right? 12,000 years ago.
Okay.
All
maybe.
right.
Yeah. I
So
can see
all
that.
of the outer planets are making this huge shift. And this huge shift is going to help change the actual frequencies. So again, I know it sounds crazy, but you got to keep your vibe high. Gratitude, not attitude. Positive energy, not complaining. Do not even say the name of the person.
We do not speak his name.
Just send energy to the blue team, right? Send energy to the blue team. So some of the other nations who have been feeling this transition, right? So we're talking about the transition from Capricorn energy of Pluto into Aquarian energy of Pluto.
Would I win a bet if I said France was one of them?
Yeah.
Look what just happened with their elections. Ooh, hey!
Okay. So
Dodged a bullet there.
we know that Capricorn is cardinal, changing of seasons, and we know that Aquarius is fixed, more indelible, stubborn. So we look to the other nations that might be having these harsh aspects. And by harsh aspects, I mean conjunctions, somebody coming along to act as one.
Right.
A square that's going to hurt.
Well, it's like walking into the corner of a table in a square. Ouch.
Or an opposition, something that's going to bring struggle, right? So I say conjunction because sometimes we don't want Pluto to expose us, right? So Pluto is like it's the ruler of Scorpio, the new ruler of Scorpio, but it rules things like espionage, exposing secrets, telling the truth, tearing down the old and bringing in the new. So when that comes upon you, right, you should really look where in your chart is that happening. Pluto wants you to transform. But nations that are being affected by this late degree, early degree, are China. It's happening in their 12th house of self-undoing. Israel, it's opposing their moon. Russia, it is on their moon and squaring their ascendant. So it's conjunct their moon, exposing their true feelings, and squaring, challenging their face in the world. The Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, Germany, I could go on, but I think you get the idea that this is going to be a global revolution, and I do think that we will see transitions of power in many different places that have had like a strong-armed government for quite some time, and I think that people are going to start to think more globally, right? Instead of us and them, it's going to be human race. I really do feel that Aquarius energy is going to
From
bring
your
that.
lips to the goddess's ears.
All right.
I will say that. I mean, I would love to think, and I hope, I really, really hope That you know this the and forgive me, Wendy, I know you're a Capricorn, love. I've got nothing against you
That
personally.
doesn't mean every Capricorn is like this or every Aquarian is like
it's
that.
this Capricorn trait of like having a hidden agenda for their ulterior motive, and it's about wanting to exert control and wield authority and hold things, you know. And they're the law and order. So long as the law and order is stacked entirely in their favour, people are starting to wake up, which is the hippie Aquarian way, the barefoot Aquarian that I'm sat next to right now, who is indeed barefoot. It's like suddenly the earth is important. It's this you know, suddenly, you know, if we don't have a planet on which all of us can live, none of us can survive. That's thinking globally, but you have to act locally. You have to support your local people, your local stores, your local farms, the people who care. And you know, things shrink, but by shrinking, strangely, they get much bigger. Rather than swallowing the "you are powerless, you can do nothing," you can do nothing. It's always going to be the way. You might as well just suck it up, buttercup, and be happy with that. And that is not how it's going to be. It really isn't. Times, they are a-changing. They've been changing for a while since Bob Dylan sung that song.
Right.
But it's
11:59 to
it's
midnight.
one chuffing second. 1 second in the grand scheme of things. This 60 years being 1 second, you know, as we move. It's unreal. It's unreal the way things are going, but time seems to be accelerating as we're quickening. You know, we're moving into this age of air, the quickening of thought. You know, the ideas, the inspiration. You think about what air, and Aquarius is fixed air, and so it's got all of those incredible qualities of, you know, the imagination, the ideas, the quickness of thought, the ability to adapt and improvise and come up with new solutions completely outside of the box. Shit, I never thought of that before, but it's obvious. It's obvious. But we don't forget the wisdom that we've learned from our ancestors, because if we do forget that and we choose to do and ignore, then we suffer the karmic consequences thereof. So we've got to have our oracular head, if you will. Even though they're not actually head, they're not the authority, you know, anymore. They are still the wisdom, our ancestral wisdom that we can draw upon. And for that,
well, that's why the skull was so revered in Celtic mythology.
And for that segues me brilliantly into where I want to go with an absolutely shameless plug.
Oh, God.
Celtica, okay? It's just so happens that now on the piece of property that we've got our eye on, an adjoining 115 acres is available at this time. We're going to need a bit more money. But we have the opportunity now to actually make something where we could have a Celtic language school, where we could actually teach regenerative farming techniques.
You're on a tangent that we didn't plan.
No, but that's Aquarian for you, isn't it? That is Aquarian for you. So guys, let's figure out a way how we're going to make this happen. All we need is a paltry sum of money. If Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, who singularly contains or has consolidated so much wealth into his own pocket, he can afford in the blink of an eye to dump $45 million to dump. I can't speak. Dump. Word.
Don't
it's a
say
word.
his name.
Into
the Republican Party, he offers $45 million a month.
The RNC Super PAC to promote hatred, division, and you know, just to preserve his wealth. Because honestly, the old order will preserve the wealth of the few, and that's where it's about. And that's how Putin got into power. That's how Putin got into power, with the sanction of the oligarchs, and now many of them have fallen mysteriously out of hotel windows, you know? And you get arrested for holding up a blank piece of paper. You want that for America? I don't think so.
No, I
Do
don't
something
think
about
we're going to get that.
I don't think we
honestly
are.
am saying the reason I'm providing this information today is for us to take some solace and understand that this revolution is happening in a positive way, as it did before.
Yes.
Right? Here's what happened the last time this configuration happened. Look what happened in France recently compared to what happened in France 240 years ago. think about what happened here and all the things that happened as Pluto was moving into Aquarius. The revolution, the birth of our nation, the Constitution, the
Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights, read it. It's the first 10 amendments.
All right. So that brings me back to, now that we're into astrology as above, so below.
Okay.
And Aquarius in Sanskrit is kumbha. And controlling the breath, or the understanding of using breathing for enlightenment or awakening the kundalini, is kumbhaka.
Okay.
So, what then does the name Kamala mean?
Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala. We're not very good at
Sanskrit. No, I'm sure.
Sandy or Hindi or
Kumbhaha and
Sanskrit or
Kumbhaka.
Hindi.
But I did a little digging, and it means the lotus of Lakshmi.
Oh.
So it is the pretty or beautiful flower that unfolds spiritual awakening. Because again, we focus that Lakshmi is the prosperity goddess. Yes, but it not necessarily always money. It depends on what you value.
Exactly. And you know what? When you said that, I've just got this dump as well. Again, brain dump. You know, the card that you describe as the exhale card is the Ace of Cups.
Lotus
and on it
there.
are the lotus, the water lilies, the lotus, yeah? You can't have them if you don't have shit at the bottom of the water.
Well, where is... All right, my chakra peeps. Where is the 1,000-petaled lotus in the chakras? Crown. Could not lose your head also have to do with the crown? Who is the head, the leader?
Jewel.
The crown jewel? Okay. So, of course, I ran Kamala Harris's chart.
Oh, why wouldn't you?
And she is born the same year as myself, 1964. So she will be 60 in October. She's an October baby. She's a Libra. She is born, you're right, Sean. We see that her sun is in Libra and her moon is in Aries, which means she's born during a full moon. And yes, the announcement of her being endorsed by the head.
The light suddenly shone on her. Like a full moon, perhaps.
Yep. She's got that Uranus-Pluto conjunction that my generation has. She's finished her Saturn return. Just. Her Saturn's at 28 degrees Aquarius, and it's in the 9th house. So she's just had that revelation of the older wisdom. And Saturn has moved into her 10th house of career. So this is going to really put down some roots for her career-wise. So Pluto then is in her 8th house right now, and it's exposing the hidden. And I think she will really, yes, she's ready. And I agree that the orange one must be shitting his diaper, worrying about debating a prosecutor.
Oh, she is.
I mean, she wiped the
I see
floor
what-
with Bill Barr, you know.
Absolutely. She knows what she's about when it comes to speaking.
Okay. And Mars, we know, is moving out of Taurus into Gemini. So that Mars energy, that power, that passion is in her 12th house. And she has her natal Jupiter on Al Ghul. So right now, Uranus is transiting her Jupiter, so she can expect unexpected things with her advancement, unexpected things with her career, rooting her career, exposing corruption. It's a great chart
There's
for
revolution,
what we're
isn't it?
looking for.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see who her running mate is. And I'll be running that chart. I don't think I'm going to do much with the other vice presidential candidate, but I am concerned about that whole agenda over there. He actually wrote the
Project
preamble
2025,
to
yeah.
Project 2025,
He's their candidate.
and he's really their candidate, I think. Anyway, she will smear him and wipe the floor with him. He doesn't stand a chance. He is now the oldest candidate ever, and he maybe needs a cognitive test. He absolutely does. Oh, he absolutely does. But he's not really who they're putting up.
His handlers are
right?
quite brilliant. That's what scares me.
I think that their vice presidential candidate is more about their way of thinking. I think Trump is just their figurehead.
He's a useful idiot, as Putin would describe him.
All right. Anyway.
I read up on Putin.
So that's our
how much
hour.
wealth?
Sorry.
Do you know how much wealth Putin has? Bear in mind, he started out as a lowly KGB and then FSB officer, topped out rank as lieutenant colonel, which is not exactly, or lieutenant colonel as you would call it over here, not exactly the highest paid job in the entire world. He has now a personal wealth in excess of $70 billion. Where do you think he got that? Just a thought. Where do you think he got it? I don't want our great nation to turn into an authoritarian
We're not going
dictatorship.
to. Honestly, I know
will
you
fight
might say
tooth
that.
and nail to stop it.
You might say that I'm out there, but
I will yell
really,
from the rooftops.
right now it is the time of power to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to believe in my heart of hearts that there are more good people than there are megas. Okay.
I hope so.
But anyway, our message, honestly, for this week, for the rest of this year, and for the next 20 years as Pluto transits Aquarius, pay attention to what you focus on. If something goes wrong, look at it as an unexpected offer to make a positive change. For example, if you are delayed in some way and you have forgotten something and you have to backtrack or turn around or retrace your steps, don't be angry and frustrated and think that it's the end of the world that you're going to be late, because just maybe you avoided a huge accident and you didn't lose your life. It's that kind of thinking. Don't give in to fear, frustration, and anger, and the things that are heavy that feed the dark side. Focus on saying, I'm so happy that I survived this, and I can raise my vibration. I can speak only good. I can send great light and love to the blue team. And recognize that if we all work together, we can make a difference. And I don't mean to sound like a Fruit Loop, but check Venus in your chart. Check where that Capricorn Aquarius transition happens in your chart, and really focus positive energy into that space. What's this say? The old gods are stirring. They absolutely are.
Aren't they just?
It's not going to happen because there is a change on the wind. We forget about the ancestors. They were here and they don't play. They have our backs. They focus the light. Focus the light. Turn on the light. Expose the darkness to transform it. Okay?
Here's the thing. Here's the deal. It's the deal, and this we love, and I so wanted to say this, and Lisa, the words just came out of mouth. What you focus on comes into focus. Seriously, what you focus on comes into focus. The dark side wants you to be petrified. The dark side wants you to feel like there is nothing you can do and we're all sodden doomed and just suck it up and prepare to experience a long and slow and painful and miserable death, you know? But that's the worst that could happen to you is you die. And you know what? You're going to die anyway. Everybody does. Nobody gets out of this world alive. So don't focus on your fear, on the inevitable, yeah? Focus on what lies before that. Life is about living. Okay, your joy lies within you. Your joy, your love, that strong, that chakra lady, the 8, the strength card, with her. Oh, hang on, just got to fix this.
Oh God.
2 seconds. It's so annoying. Technology's good, but it's so annoying. The chakra lady with the as above, so below, you know, and the lioness putty in her hands because she's come at it with just love. Love is the strongest force in the entire universe. Love changes things. Love makes things better. Nobody's born with the ability to hate. It has to be conditioned into you. Eschew that. Practice tiny little random acts of kindness. Reach out a hand of friendship. Hold a door for somebody. Let somebody cut in line. Help somebody out if they're lost. Give them directions, you know? Show them the way to go, maybe.
Do what you can.
Do
and focus
what
on what you can do.
Do what you can.
Don't
And
focus on the things that you feel are
can't
out of your
do.
control or overwhelming. This has been my thought for all week. I've talked to this
we had, I
to
just
the
went,
Reiki class, to
Yep.
the
our
to the-
circle on Friday was so powerful.
Anyway,
so powerful.
focus on what you can do what you can do, and don't focus on what you feel is out of your control. I found one little section more of what I didn't talk about.
Please go for it.
And they triggered it by saying the divine feminine.
Oh, there you go. Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
So yeah, hi Sean.
Well, that's
and
Wendy
hi,
Hamilton,
Wendy.
a new viewer. Thank you
Okay.
for joining us.
So we remember I had said the outer planets are all moving. The 4 of them are moving into air and fire. And this is going to be a shift for about 300 years. All right? We need a mamala, absolutely. So this is a time of great creative and artistic energy. But understand this completion of these transitions are all going to happen within a 3-year period that we are in the middle of now.
Interesting
From 2023 to 2026, the shift of all of the outer planets. So if you think time is going fast now, wait till you see the next 18 months, okay? But yes, if we look back at the ages, we see the age of Taurus being really the age of the divine feminine, of the goddess, of that energy of growing and nurturing. Then we had the age of Aries, where everybody wanted to establish their territory, right? Great time of wars and push and pull. The age of Pisces, the fisherman of man, was really the age of skill and wisdom. And now we are moving into the Aquarius, right? So many times we see the water bearer depicted as a woman. It's the star card, and it's power to the people. The power is poured out upon the earth. Love is the most powerful. Love is the law. Love conquers all. So mote it be. I was driving past you Friday and I thought there was an event. I checked the site and saw nothing.
Okay, so our circles aren't actually on the Awareness Shop site. You'd have to
They're
join
on the
the
church site.
CEC, which is what it is, the Church of the Eternal Circle. So, but
And
come by the store.
all you'd
give us
have
a
to
call.
do is call, and we would tell you when the circles are and see if you could get on the list for being there. And love is the law. Live in love, and you live in light. Live in fear, and you live in darkness. So don't be stressed out about current events. We know what happened before, so we have a good idea of what's going to happen now.
Exactly.
Reform, revolution, power to the people, and power to all of the people. The tearing down of the corporate greed.
The death of late stage capitalism, where my money's worth more than your life, is no longer a sustainable thing, and that's, I think, where we're at. And there is, but they don't want you to look up. Don't look up. Oh, it's woke, man. You're woke. come on, be sleep then. Be a sheep. Be just lied to and guided to serve their ends. That's not how it works. You guys are smart. You're intelligent. You can figure it out.
Really, raise your vibration.
Raise your vibration. Lift
Raise your
it up.
vibration. Come up. Come up. Come up. Take the high road. Live in your heart and in your head together.
Yes, we
Be
can.
positive. Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Here's
can.
what I can do today. Don't get sucked into the crazy.
Yeah, please, thank you. Yeah, shameless plug. Do mash that like button. There's way more of you watching than have hit the like button, both on the Talk of Tick and on the Tube of You. Follow us, become a channel member if you so desire. Normally we do readings, but we got into the thick of it this time, which we warned you at the outset. We did say we may. But listen, also, please, remember what you focus on comes into focus. Focus on good things. Focus on, it all coming together beautifully. Focus on Celtica being a reality, and the people there
would really
learning.
love to leave a legacy.
Yeah,
wouldn't we?
learning from the wisdom of their ancestors, but bringing that to the youth that must carry the torch forward for all. That's what we're about. It's like preserving the old ways and the wisdom of our ancestors for the next generation to preserve the earth. That's what we're about. Without a planet, we ain't got nowhere to go. There is no planet B, guys. There
Although
isn't.
some people seem to live on planet B.
Well, there is that.
All right.
There is that.
It's been pretty challenging, I have to say.
It is, yes.
And
yeah.
I think what I said this yesterday, I think what bothers me more than anything is a lot of these people who have been brainwashed or sucked in by this evil
emperor,
this us and them thing, are people that I know aren't
bad people.
They're genuinely kind, and they would help people, and they've helped children, and I just don't understand how they could get sucked in.
Well, listen, people get persuaded to put explosives on their body and blow themselves up, purportedly for a cause, So
Anyway.
you can do horrible things. We can be Evnisian or we can be Nissian.
All right, now, since we're already over time by almost quarter of an hour, and we have tons of things going on.
We do.
We're going to pull one card, which is going to be card of the week for everybody.
Oh, you better do a good one then. You pulled it. I'm supposed to hold it up. And Aquarius card. Yes, the
and my
star
light
card.
is poured out on the universe.
Yes,
There you
and
go.
my love is poured out. Yeah. Oh, it really is. This is the quintessential goddess love card.
It's card of
It's
hope.
about hope. It's about rising from the ashes of something that destroyed itself. With there's so
Alan
much
Rudd maintaining
symbolism.
her power of sovereignty.
Yeah. Oh, so much symbolism. And once again, as a parallel for those of you particularly astute tarot people, note there are 5 streams pouring on the ground there, like the 5 streams out of
the
that
cup
chalice
of the lotus.
Yeah. So remember the 5th spirit, animus. Without spirit, you've got nothing. So hoil vower, I would say. Be of great spirit. Be of great joy. Be, keep your face to the sunshine. The shadows will be behind you. Reach out and just make life better in whatever tiny little way you can. And focus, please. It's a really opportune astrological time. Focus on us getting Celtica. We've now got the opportunity to get a hell of a lot more land.
Oh, well, yeah, the 30
A
acres.
lot more
the 30
land.
acres we've been working on adjoins 117 that's come up for sale. Now that would be a
that's all zoned agricultural. So we are totally in with that.
agrotourism.
Well, agritourism, but agritourism is a permitted use in agricultural. So yeah. But yeah. Please, come on, people. Somebody knows somebody with
Somebody
money.
must know somebody.
Yeah, throw
I
us a
think I'm
super
gonna
chat,
put the
do us
star
whatever.
card-
I think we're going to put the
star card out on the altar.
star card out on our altar, yeah. Fantastic. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thrice thank you for joining us today. I'm so sorry we didn't get to readings. Hey Ash, how are you? just see Ash has joined us as well.
Right.
Sorry we didn't get to do readings for everybody today, but we had an awful lot to go over. And seriously, if you want, go back and watch this again. There's some powerful stuff. Oh no, you're in the hospital. Oh gosh, well, Hope you feel better soon. Much healing your way. We'll send you love and healing.
Keep your vibration high, people.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Walk in beauty.
Walk in beauty. Absolutely. And let love be your guide. All right. We're out of here, people.
Thank you
Be
very
well.
much.
See you next time.
Peace. Bye.
.50 views.
Love this so much. This is very powerful.